And our next speaker is Darlene Allen. Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? My name's Darlene Allen, and I'm here tonight to speak out against the inhumane conditions at the border and its impact on children. Children at the border. Thank you to Bridget, Rodrigo, David, and everybody that put this together. I'm just so proud to be here with so many Rhode Islanders and 795 locations across the world where we're saying enough is enough. I have worked in the enough is enough. I've worked in the child advocacy field for many years with a primary focus on children that have been traumatized, mostly in foster care. Okay, I've worked with children here in Rhode Island and across our country, and I see how trauma impacts children every single day. For many, the healing process is difficult. For some, it takes years. And for others, the imprint of trauma lasts a lifetime. In addition to my work with foster care, about 9 or 10 years ago, I worked on a project with the Office of Refugee Assistance, and I worked with a project that worked with those unaccompanied minors that came into this country. They came in traumatized. As we've heard before, the system was broken then. It has just become unbelievably worse now. One of the things that I do every day is work towards safety, well-being, and permanency for children, and what we're seeing at the border is there is no safety. There is no well-being, and we're certainly splitting up children. We heard there was 18. There's way more than 18 children split up, and it must stop now. What we're seeing, what we're witnessing is a surge in young children and families entering the system that daily violates human rights. Last week, we learned of a pediatrician who went into the Border Patrol warehouse and saw a baby who had been fed from the same unwashed bottle for days. She saw children showing signs of malnutrition, dehydration, and in her medical opinion, they were exhibiting clear evidence of psychological trauma. And there were 1,000 children in this facility. This pediatrician examined as many as she could, but she was kept from so many of them because they are in the warehouse in cages. These are babies. She looked through the list. Many of them had birth dates in 2018, 2019. Babies in cages. Sick babies in cages. Sick babies in cages with no soap, no showering. These children are being cared for. They're not being cared for, and it's inhumane. Although 72 hours is the longest a child should be legally confined, this pediatrician said that many of them had been there for months without proper sanitation, sleep deprivation, malnutrition. This is what we are doing to children. No more. Enough is enough. Okay? Yes, exactly. When lawyers came to that same facility, every single child was sick. Many of them had to be hospitalized in intensive care. Even the Border Patrol officials are saying there's outbreaks of chickenpox, flu, measles, mumps. These children are not being fed. This is tantamount to intentionally causing the spread of disease. And it is clear that our government is creating a broader public health crisis. This health crisis is not only a physical health crisis, it is including children's mental health. So many of us have expressed concern and outrage related to the trauma and its impact on these children's mental health. Another story that came out this week, I think hopefully some of you have seen those children that did the drawings in the Custom and Border Protection, little 10 and 11-year-olds with drawings, 5 stick figures behind bars, being watched by guards in dark hats. You don't need to be a psychiatrist to know that that is not good for a child. Our largest pediatricians group, representing 67,000 members, has urged Customs and Border Protection to not place these children in detention facilities for what we call adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs. And any of us that work with children know that ACEs have long-standing effects on children. These children are likely to develop learning difficulties and health problems, and some lifelong and profound impacts. And our administration is well aware of these long-term devastating impact of separation, of trauma, and toxic stress that can have on a developing child's brain. In fact, last February, one of the country's leading experts, Dr. Shemkoff from Harvard, testified in front of Congress about the impact of trauma from parental separation. Their little heart rates go up. Their bodies release a flood of stress hormones. These stress hormones start killing off dendrites, little branches in their brain cells that transmit messages. In time, this stress can start killing off neurons, especially in young children, that can wreak dramatic and long-term damage. We are psychologically and actually physically changing the structure of the brains of these children. It's criminal. It's criminal. This doctor explained it clearly. He gave the evidence. He showed the research. He described the biology. Thousands and thousands have provided this evidence to our administration and to members of Congress. Families that have been reunified with their children say their children are different when they're reunifying. Yet this continues. In fact, it seems to continue to get worse, and more harmful strategies. From ICE houses to tent cities to overcrowded warehouses to camps, we are systemically abusing our children at the border. Close the camps. Close the camps. Close the camps. These children are not playing with games, they're getting no exercise, there's no activities, there's no school. Children are caring for each other in these warehouses, in these camps. Some are reporting that they're being sexually abused and they're not even able to access the help that they need. And we know that many children have already lost their lives. Children are dying. And we've already heard their names, but I think we need to hear their names again. Darylyn, age 10, from El Salvador. Jacqueline, age 7, from Guatemala. Felipe, age 8, from Guatemala. Juan de Leon, age 16, from Guatemala. These are real children that lost their lives. And we must never forget them or any of the other children, but we cannot let any more children die. We cannot. Earlier this week, the UN Human Rights Chief told the world that she was appalled at the conditions in which the United States is keeping detained migrants, refugees, including children. And she reminded us that in this country, that every child under the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child has the right to survival, protection, and education. And there are 182 countries that have ratified this, but the United States is not one of them. Contained in this treaty is a profound idea that children are human beings and that they're individuals with their own rights. I am appalled, I'm outraged, and we must all be appalled and outraged. We need to call on Congress to help end this humanitarian crisis at the border. We need to close down those camps. We need to end civil rights violations and ratify the Convention on the Rights of the Child. We need to stop systematically traumatizing children. And we need to provide trauma support for the children we've already traumatized. These children are our world's most precious resource, and all children are precious. They deserve safety, they deserve security, they deserve compassion, and they deserve dignity. And we need to keep speaking up, showing up, and standing up for children. Thank you.